Hi, everybody. I'm Rogers Haley, the host of Rogers That, a podcast dedicated to selling without selling out. And today I have one of my favorite people on planet Earth. I learned early on that networking is really, I don't even know if it's an art or if it's something that you can ever perfect, but there was always somebody that I would see at these events that I'd go to by myself because I didn't want to meet or be with other real estate agents. And I'd go there by myself, and there's always this one guy that was a peacock. And he wasn't just a peacock because he dressed loud or he had a commanding voice. He just had something about him that you wanted to go and be a part of. And so finally, this is probably 13, 14 years ago, I followed him out to the valet line and introduced myself and just said, I don't know who you are, I don't know what you do, but I want to be your friend, expecting to get rejected because that's kind of the way that powerful and influential people treat others. But he was welcoming, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it." He said, "My man, let's do it." And Benny Black ever since then has been someone that I consider a great friend. He's family to me. I love him. He is the epitome of a family man. He puts perspective ahead of everything. But today we're going to talk to somebody I consider to be the greatest networker I've ever met, the greatest intentional networker I've ever met, who has disrupted the luxury business in cars and Sprinter vans and just in branding in general. So Benny Black, thank you for being a guest on the show today.
My man, Rogers. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah. So give us some background on you and kind of what made Benny. And I hope y'all can realize that out of all the unique people that I have in my life, I would put you on the Mount Everest of people that just own their brand and have done such an incredible job of staying genuine and epitomizing, again, the whole art of not being a sellout once you find success. So what made Benny Benny?
Well, my man, first of all, I got to thank you again for that, because Mount Everest, that means I'm not sharing that. Everybody says Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, you gave me Everest, so I'm going to take it, bro.
I was like, Mount Everest, and I was trying to sound so smart, and you just completely humbled me. So you're the Mount Everest of networking. Dadgummit. You are. You're Mount Everest.
My man.
Yeah. For a Freudian slip that is well deserved.
There it is. It's funny because when you and I first met, it's funny you say you came to me, but I had asked a couple different people about you, because even though you stood out as much as I did, I felt like, because your height. And then, of course, you were a pretty boy model dude. So that automatically made people try to put you in a box. It's just that your personality is what made people go, oh, that's not that model pretty boy dude. I think that's one of the biggest.
He's a rebel. No.
I wouldn't say rebel. To me, it was joking. More of a strong-handed influencer. That's what I felt that you were back then. But I took that and I was like, okay, see, one thing I love about Rogers is he's not scared of showing what he's doing. And what I mean by that, you weren't bragging on it, but you were always reminding people or educating them in what you were doing, which is what I feel gave you an expert in that field. Thanks. The only thing that I was able to take from that is like, okay, so I've got to command and try to do the same thing with mine. And one of the things I realized dealing with luxury, as I used to tell you all the time walking around, especially some of the events we went to, you have to epitomize or dress the way you want people to see you. In my field, dealing with just luxury clientele, as you were even early on in real estate, you couldn't walk in your favorite T-shirt back then and expect the guy that's over there in the Armani suit to really take you seriously. The only way you could do that is you had to know what you were talking about, command the room when you come in, and then once you have everybody's attention, make sure you try to keep it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think some people make the mistake, because they really have nothing to say outside their mouth.
But even getting into that headspace, I think that's a really hard thing for most people to ever even come to grips with, and much less even actually attempt it. But let me just, I think the first time I saw Benny, no joke, you had a cane, you had a monocle.
Oh, stop.
But I'm dead serious, and I was like, I thought you were playing a character. But it's really who you are.
Yes.
Right? And I think that that's so important with networking, is the law of attraction. Whether the guy in the Armani suit's going to talk to the guy that's dressed up like a peacock, right? And the art of peacocking is, if you have bright feathers, people notice you, and then it's up to you to actually, prove your worth. But that's not normal. And I think, maybe get us inside that headspace to where you could walk into a room that, it was at the Crescent where I met you, which is just it's an established just very regal black and white place where people normally don't show up in a bright purple suit unless they're at a Halloween con. But I'm saying, but like, how in your mind did you carry that without worrying of the anxiety of people making fun of you or not taking you seriously? Like, what was that preparation like mentally to get there?
Actually, and I think I've spoken to this about with your group before.
By the way, that was a decade ago.
What a memory. Ooh. Anyway, let's get off that decade. Yeah. We're not that old.
No.
One of the first things that I always like to do, Rogers, when I go into a room is when you scan the room, you decide if you're going to be the predator or the prey. And I think that's a big thing when you walk into a business event, because if you walk in as a predator, and I always like to compare myself as to a lion or an elephant, when you walk into the room, you have to have a regal air. Now, you don't have to come in loud. You don't even have to come in making a whole bunch of gestures or anything like that. But if you walk in with an air of I'm supposed to be here, you should be trying to talk to me, somebody's going to turn and ask, who's that? I always like to run with one other partner who was always good at that. And Jackson it is. And one of the things that I thought I was good at networking until I actually met him, because his whole life has been built around luxury. One of the things that we did that's always good if you're ever out networking, and get you a good running partner, but make sure there's no egos involved. And what we did to go together was we played Batman and Robin. And basically going to each event that we went to, and back then we're doing probably 2 or 3 in a night. When you first walk into the room, the first thing you want to see is who gets introduced or who walks up to whoever first. Because whoever walks up and somebody says, hey, whoever that name is, that's Batman. You got to just kind of step back, ease back, because he's the first one that got noticed when they walked in that room. So automatically you can guess, well, somebody else is going to know that guy, and you keep going. But what we also like to do when we would do it is, if he got the first introduction and he does not introduce me, it's not worth me following around or trying to reintroduce myself, because back then we were always on what we call a paper chase. I'm not into an event just to waste my time and meet people. I'm in there to try to see who else is in there that I can do business with. And one thing I like, him being Batman, he would always introduce me to certain ones that, like,
okay. Where you went into it thinking he was going to be Batman.
Well, we would go in to see
whoever essentially gets pulled first is Batman.
That's Batman.
Gotcha.
And you back off. You play Robin, but you play a good Robin, because if he sees, and that's one thing that's good about Jackson having a good running mate. If he sees, this is a better room for Benny if they knew who Benny was, he's going to introduce you. He'll pull you to the front. But if you realize, I just don't feel it in this room, well, you got to be a good Robin. Smile, shake hands, do whatever you need to do behind the Batman. Once you establish those 2 roles when you're out there running in the streets, it makes it a whole lot easier to run up that success ladder we try to get.
Batman?
Well, we've had that happen. We've had that happen.
Seriously?
And I tell you, and that's one of the fun things, because now you've commanded the whole room. Because in cases like that, it's happened a lot of times at the Ritz. I'll go ahead and brag on that. When you've got 8 or 9 people surrounding you, and people still keep coming in from the other side just to hear your conversations and your stories, now you're owning the room.
Dude, it's like old school. It reminds me of like how Motown bands formed, like they're doo-wopping, and they had no lead singer. And then based on who was there, and maybe that's a bad analogy, but it's just y'all are performing without trying to perform. And then you bring people in, and it's not. I don't want to use the word, but it's bait. Right?
It is. And Jackson always used to say that. One of his biggest things that he would say: remember, when you're going out, you're always on stage.
Yeah.
You're always on stage.
And then you reach a point where they want to see you they want to see you fall off the stage versus playing encore.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you've done as well or better than anybody. Is you found a way to. Your brand is you.
Yes, sir.
Like Benny Black is a brand, and people in DFW, people in Texas know the name Benny Black. And the follow-up question a lot of times, which is fun for people like Benny, is what does he do?
Yes.
Right? But then Benny, like he said, the word that he has mentioned multiple times is luxury, which I'd love for you to define what luxury is in your mind, because in real estate, luxury is just a price point. But my guess is for you, luxury is maybe a lifestyle, maybe it's a way of living. But how would you describe that word to everybody following us today? That's
a great question. I've always described luxury a little different, and I learned this from the books I've read on the Ritz-Carlton and Louis Vuitton, as a matter of fact. What they used to always say in some of their teachings is, a luxury brand, all the masses know it, but only the classes can afford it. So it has a little bit of price point, but like everybody knows Louis, everybody knows Gucci, but not everybody at that time could afford that till they started making the knockoffs, I guess you could say. But
everyone can shop at Target.
Everybody can stop at Target, exactly. Yeah. But you never saw advertising strong and heavy on any of those larger brands back on early in the day, because you just knew, okay, that's who they were. Especially Ferrari. Ferrari's one, and they still do that now. You don't test drive a Ferrari. They tell you it's a Ferrari. Period. And that's one of the top, Italian brands. But next door right there is Lamborghini. Well, you can test drive a Lamborghini, but you got to be able to afford it. And with me, what I always saw when I got into the business with luxury is it's definitely a price point, but I always had it when I first started it, especially in rental. Rental to me is what started me in the game that understood a luxury point, because in my mind, what car commands a certain rental intrinsic value that'll make you pay more for it? And a perfect example on that, the Corvette. New Corvette C7, C6, great looking car, American muscle. It's $100,000. Average rental price on that's about $500 a day. Now you can go now, and that's a new Corvette. You can get now 6-7-year-old Lamborghini worth about $130,000, and it's a coupe, 40,000 miles. I can get you $1,200 or $1,500 a day just because of the rental intrinsic value in the mind. The price point's the same, but I look better if I paid more in this older Lamborghini than in the new Corvette.
No way.
That's the rental intrinsic value that you can command in rental.
Okay, well now you've introduced us to the fact that you are in the car business, the Sprinter business, et cetera. But maybe let's talk about a side story with how you actually disrupted. Because when I first thought of Benny, it was always about a loud, big, bold brand that had to do with exotic motorsports. And obviously, since COVID and life, you've pivoted and you've kept your entrepreneurial and business savvy at the forefront. But what was that like? Because back then, was anybody doing luxury car rentals, especially daily? And then you saw Dallas had an opportunity where this is on the dawn of $30,000 millionaires, where, people like you, unlike me, benefited from people that wanted to pretend like they had money.
Exactly.
And they didn't. So did you discover this while out and about networking, or was it part of your plan from the beginning?
Great memory. I got right on the cusp of the $30,000 millionaire. And at that time, I saw it was changing from that time when everybody was doing limos and limousines to where, okay, everybody's made that little check or that tech check or whatever the case is, the bonus, and they're still doing, bottle service, but the valet is where things started changing. And what I mean by that, valet and patio started popping out, and everybody wanted to see, what did you pull up in? What's sitting out front? And even the restaurants and the events started promoting it and changing it that way, because the nicer the cars you had up front, the better or the higher end crowd you had inside.
And before that, Dallas wasn't, I would not have put Dallas on the map of, I don't want to say luxury, but it wasn't a showy city.
So, exactly. It wasn't.
And maybe that was just, I was naive and young, but I feel like overnight it became a junior LA.
I tend to agree with you on that. The biggest thing that I saw with that, and a lot of people don't realize, Dallas is and this is just our city, Dallas is the only city that has the top 7, I think now 8 top luxury brands in cars in the city. California has all the brands in the state. And what the people don't understand, so right now, freestanding dealerships, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, Bugatti, Pagani, Aston, McLaren, Maserati, those are all standalone dealerships in Dallas.
I don't even know that. And you're 6'6", you just kind of learn to drown out F-150.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's that quiet money that Dallas has slowly just accumulated and stacked up to where people don't even realize just how big and how much money is being spent just on cars. But then when the art scene landed, and then you get at that time, North Park started growing bigger. We started getting some of the big brands from New York. That was that good, heavy oil and gas money that was coming through, some of the LA money as well, coming in, looking at our art scene. Out of nowhere.
I don't know. And so you see that, knowing that you have a background and being an entrepreneur and you read people for a living, and then you're genuine in response, which gets you, return business. But what was the moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to do 6-year-old Ferraris versus brand new Corvettes. How am I going to go leverage the fact that I can be Batman or Robin or, dual Batman what was the play into that and how you made a massive splash?
The biggest one would have to be, I want to say, that first couple of years after 2010. Of course, it was right after, the big crash in 08, 09. Well, that's when I got accumulated with a lot of cars then, because everybody's credit started going bad and everybody was over leveraged on cars. So I was able to manipulate and take over people's car payments on cars. So my fleet, when the little recession happened or the crash, went from 6 to 21 cars. Oh my God. All on the high end, just nice. Well, then that very next year we had NBA All-Star. Well, at that time, which was nice, I had already taken care of a couple of celebrities that were some of the bigger guys coming in leading the All-Star team. So when NBA All-Star got here, one of the big, I think it was 09, yes.
It was February of 09.
February 09. Remember, we also had the big ice storm.
Yep.
That was huge. Well, being an entrepreneur, I'll say it was, I won't say it was foresight, but it was definitely a lucky move. When I saw the storm that was coming in Dallas, and NBA, it is a big showy time in the city, I also realized that not everybody can move around in the type of cars that I wanted to put out. So I took
the actual size.
Because the actual size. So I took the initiative and I went to all the enterprise locations and rented up every Suburban and Escalade that they had.
By the way, y'all, this is pre-Uber,
pre-Uber,
pre-rideshare.
Exactly, any of that. So I rented up all theirs, and then I started sending flyers to customers that I knew that had Suburbans and Escalades that I would rent their car, give me three days, and I'd give them an amount. Well, I ended up putting out 74 vehicles just in SUVs because of the snowstorm. All the promoters, all the liquor companies and all that, getting people to the parties, they needed SUVs. I had rented everything from Enterprise, so you had to come to me. So that's what put me on the map initially, because everybody heard you had to go to Platinum to get an SUV to move your celebrity around during the NBA All-Star.
Wow.
Well, then it was nice enough that the following year we had Super Bowl, which was launched me into that in the same time during the thing.
Which was a disaster for everyone else.
Disaster for everyone else.
On top of that, too, I remember this vividly, the taxi cab company went on strike.
Yes.
And so if you're having a couple cocktails downtown waiting for Yellow Cab, it didn't happen.
Exactly.
So there was like 6 people. It was, I forget the name of the company. I remember it was Blue. It was a blue taxi.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably cashed out when everyone else was getting just murdered because you're literally the only ride in town.
Exactly. And then, we had that worst snowstorm again. So those 2 incidents, I think, put me up on the map as far as a luxury provider for just hiring clientele.
What was your background before the car industry?
It's funny.
I mean, obviously, you've kind of you're like a walking book, right? Just the stuff that you've shared with me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right? And the common theme is you figured it out. You graduated from whatever that was you were doing, and now you've kind of, again, become an icon. But what was the background in business that gave you such an incredible savvy to navigate, or really... Y'all that aren't familiar with Dallas, I consider it to be one of, if not the most competitive business environment in the country.
Yes.
And I think you got New York, you got LA, you got Chicago, but the thing about Dallas is I don't think anybody can ever really put their finger on what's going to win. But, people like you and hopefully me, we found our ways to stay relevant when waves of people come here thinking they're going to just buy their way to success, and it's not necessarily the truth. But what was the background?
Honestly, Rodgers, I had no background in luxury automotive, but years ago when I first got with the wifey, I told her, I want to figure out a way we can drive nice cars and not have to pay for them. So that was my hustle
without
then.
Stealing them.
Yeah, without stealing them as well. So that was my hustle thought then. But I think really the change was I saw people were moving away from what they were paying for limousines back then. And I believe they paid.
What were you doing?
So it was funny. So I couldn't stand to work for anybody back then. So I had my own little clientele limousine service, but I didn't own a limousine. So every time I'd get a call, I'd call up a couple limousine companies that I was working with. I'd pay them for their limo and then go take my client out, pay them for the limo, make my cut on top. So I was always double the price because I would make the good sounding where you're going to get the owner driving you tonight. So I was always higher than every other limo company. But when you hear that in the voice and you hear that in the sales pitch, yeah, that sounds like a reasonable deal to go with.
You're selling an experience.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
The experience is double the cost of what it'd be, but you're selling people the experience.
Yes, sir.
And that's part of your brand is they know. And I'll as a client and as a friend of Benny, I'll tell you that it's worth it. But that's not necessarily an uphill battle for people like you, which is such a unique. It's a unique it's unique.
And
not normal.
what a lot of people don't realize, and this is where, as an entrepreneur, you have to be resilient in what you want your brand to be. Because as my brand was ascending, I started getting other competitors. At the time before COVID, I'd had 9 competitors come in the market and go out of business. So 9. You want competition, because competition, it keeps you on your toes. And a lot of people don't realize that once you think you're good and you're going down the track, there's someone coming after you.
Yeah.
And you got to always be looking over your shoulder to see what everybody else is doing. Now, a couple of points in time in my journey through, I always felt, well, that's a fly. I'm not going to worry about what flies are doing. But you also can't dismiss everybody that's also could be a competitor. Yeah. I've done that on a couple of occasions to where, in my opinion, I feel like I got caught, then got surpassed as far as mind share in the rental. But then through poor management, that company failed.
Mind share. Let's talk. What is mind share? I like that.
I always had this thing to where when you say a certain product, the first name that pops up in your head, that's who has mind share in that space.
Is that a Bennyism?
I'd like to adapt it, but I can't.
Okay.
I can't. I took that from somebody else that I was reading on, Robert Maxwell, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And that's what he always said. When you're building your brand, you got to see where you want to be in people's mind share. At that time when I was starting mine, when you thought of luxury rentals, Benny Black.
Yeah.
Not just Benny Black, because I wanted people to know the whole name meant that. And it just always rolled off people a whole lot easier. So that's what I always try to capture, was that mind share for luxury rentals.
That's so smart. So here's a loaded question.
Okay.
I know we got 1,000 stories going at once. You're not necessarily just in the luxury car rental business anymore. So how do you go, as someone who's done this for half your life, and you've drilled? It's like me with real estate.
Yes.
I don't just do real estate. I don't want people to just think of me as real estate. I don't want to die a real estate person.
Right.
And so, I'm going to die a real estate person. I'm saying being a husband, a father, and a Christian is way more important than being a real estate entrepreneur. But like you, I've drilled it into their skull for 2 decades. So how do I go and maybe edit the mind share? What was your idea with that, knowing that, again, we're going to get there, but going from dominating the luxury car rental business, 2020 hits, nobody's driving anywhere. Nobody's flying anywhere. No one's buying luxury real estate. Nobody's renting luxury cars. So you immediately pivot into the Sprinter business, which we're going to get to. But what was the mindshare approach where you had to go and now essentially uneducate and untrain your people to not think of you in one thing, but to think of you in an additional realm as well?
Great question. So I consider what happened during COVID time was a reset button for a lot of entrepreneurs. It gave people a chance to, in my opinion, stop, think, reset your whole plan of what you're going to do. Because when that hit, it hit everybody different. I was hit double time with it. What a lot of people don't remember was October 19th was when we had the big tornado right down the middle of Dallas. So that tornado went right through my driveway, which destroyed my building and business. And that was going into October.
By the way, let's talk about one of the smartest marketing moves of all time. Where was your business located, please?
Right on 75, right
directly
there
next to
Land Rover.
So people that were going to look at $150,000 SUVs might have been distracted as they were pulling in because there was a shiny Ferrari, Lamborghini,
exactly,
or Bentley. What's that? That's not Range Rover. Directly next door. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay, because that was also a great move when Land Rover came up over there, because it did. I shared a lot of customers with them because you're going to go back and forth. But during that time in October, I had just formed a partnership with a couple of boys out of Fort Worth, Ryan Hayes, and we were going to start building and selling luxury Sprinters. Well, this
is pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
This is trend. This is not thinking
no
people
trend,
are going to want to grow
nothing.
their family and travel. This is literally, it's kismet, right?
Just adding on to what we were like, okay, they're already renting cars. Well, let's just add luxury Sprinters, sell those.
Will you tell us what a Sprinter is? If we're not
So the big Mercedes vans that you see, the Amazon vans, well, those are the plain Jane version. So we're building luxury jet Sprinters out at Iconic in Fort Worth. And basically, those are the vans that you're seeing the celebrities get and climb out of, all the red carpet people, stuff like that. There's about 25, 30 different conversion builders, and we're one of the 3 here in Texas now.
Wow. So just think of the Kardashians when they travel.
There you go.
That's what they're in.
There you go.
Let's bring it to, let's make it
Bring
easy
it
to
right there
understand.
to easy people to understand. So when that tornado hit in October, I had already formed that partnership. We got hit a little bit, lost some cars, but then nobody could move because they shut down everything. So you couldn't even rent cars. Well, in my started thinking, got lucky, 3 clients called and said, hey, I can't drive a car, but I've got another house I can get to that we want to do our COVID there. I need a Sprinter.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure we're. So I was. My mind was lost in the tornado story. So again, 2020 hits, and you're already in the Sprinter business. You're obviously still in the luxury rental car business as well. March.
Yes.
Was it just a holy crap? What am I going to do? Or was it holy crap? Let's go. We have an opportunity.
Holy crap, let's go opportunity, because everybody slowed down in January when we first got the hit of it. I was like, ooh, we got a COVID. And then they shut us down in March. Well, during January, February, remember, there were certain areas where if you were in certain industries, you could still go back and forth to the office.
Essential workers.
Exactly.
Which, believe it or not, realtors were considered essential.
See, I love that.
I think it was comical.
It's cute because, I mean, how essentially can you be, because you can't go show a house? But hey,
now listen.
Manufacturing got part of that. So we were able to go in and still putting our plans together and blueprints on what we're doing on building these Sprinters. Well, 3 of my customers called in the 1st of March and said, hey, we want to move to, our different houses. We need a Sprinter. So I sold
They
my.
wanted to rent one?
No, they wanted to buy.
Here we go.
Which is where I was like, oh, wait a minute. So in that first month of March, I sold 4. And that was just clients that I already had as clientele. So then the quickest thing that we did, Enterprise, Hertz, and everybody was shelling out, selling their cars. We did the same thing. Unloaded every exotic that I had and bought Sprinters. So at that same time, going into March, April, May, then you got rental season coming along. Well, now people are starting to move a lot more just in Sprinters because you can move in your family units.
Rental season, not for exotic cars.
Not
rental
for
season for Sprinters.
For Sprinters.
So it's like the mind space. What's the term? Mind space.
Yes.
So, but even with that, like, what was the way that you had to go? And now, most part online on the phone, because there are not networking events in March of 2020 where people like you. That's where you shine. That's the rare air. But how do you go do that with a book of business where people know you as Benny Black, exotic rental car guy, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, it's now Benny Black, exotic car rental, but also Benny Black luxury Sprinter sales?
Yes, sir.
What did that look like? What was the strategy to do that essentially overnight?
So what was fun is people always knew me on the rental. And when you got football season, you're putting tailgating, you're showing Sprinters, you're showing the group going to that. Again, social media. You've got to be active on social media. Yeah. I was able to kind of bring those two together because I'm showing different videos of people picking up Sprinters, people enjoying their tailgating and that type of experience. So putting that together is easy to start doing videos because when you open the door to the Sprinter and it looks like the inside of a Bentley, it kind of starts flowing together because it's the same customer looking at it, but then realizing, oh, I can get that and move my whole family or my whole group and not be stuck here in one spot.
Did you market how much they cost?
Oh, yeah. I had to because I had to make them realize, no, this ain't the Chevy Explorer van. It's the Mercedes Jet Sprinter.
What's the entry level for a Sprinter? What was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, this is what's amazing, and people got to go fast. 2 years ago, you're at $150,000.
Just out the gate.
Just out the gate.
That's without Exhibit coming over there and pimping it.
Exactly. Yeah, not even them redoing it. Yeah. And the bad boys at 310, nothing like that. Now you're on an average of 180. And they're not dropping anytime soon because the market for them being able to move groups or just families, it's still heavy. The RV industry overall is up still about 37% year to year over the last 3 years. So I was thankful that at that time I could put the luxury in there with it. But now my pivot is instead of in the rental, you're chasing a customer. And when you run out of customers because of COVID, you start thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to rechange in what I've got to do? So we had to start thinking differently. Okay, how can we create buckets to where when you have another hit like COVID does, you can still be resilient and keep things going and moving throughout your household? Well, what we realized with the Sprinter business, everybody wants a Sprinter, but not everybody can afford it. But on the luxury side, if you have dealers that are also selling the sprinters for you. That's really the bucket you want to be in, because they always have customers. You don't have to chase the customer. Now we're switching to business sales, because in that way I can just basically just go out and send out orders, make sure they still enjoy my product, but I control the product from beginning to end now in manufacturing.
So I heard something a long time ago that said the ideal job or the ideal company to own is one without inventory and without employees. And it sounds like you're kind of going down that path. As someone who, I'm a deal guy and I like deals, but it gets exhausting trying to manage that. And I'm really clinging more towards being a CEO versus just a lead generator. But do you miss, knowing that maybe at our phase in our career, the peacock, door opening phase might be a thing of the past? Is that hard to capture? Because for y'all that are like that, I mean, it's a rush. And walking into a place and meeting somebody and actually making a real connection, it's a drug.
Oh, it's a huge drug.
But like, I tell you what, eventually you look back, you're like, holy crap, like it's exhausting.
It's work.
People challenge your sincerity. And then again, like it's been such a pleasant surprise being friends with you, is that you're real, but a lot of people aren't.
Yes.
And then you start to see the other side of it, where you walk in a room, you're like, oh my God, these people are they're tryhards, and they're going to go home, they live with their parents, and they rented a car from Benny. But was that a hard thing to kind of grasp when you knew that you were better at something from a business perspective? It was going to make you more money, give you more sustainability, but what got you there maybe isn't what's going to get you to the next level?
Man, you're hitting it on the point, especially at our age, Rogers, because you look at what got you to where you are now, and you're at that sustaining or maintenance level, as I like to call it. Well, you always want to continue to try to gain. You don't want to lose traction, because if you're not growing, you're just sitting there going stale, and that's never good. Missing the getting out there and peacocking, I do, because as you said, it's a rush. And if you're good at it and you enjoy taking over rooms, it's just a good feeling coming out of there, and you go into the next day feeling more confident. But now, as you said, when you've changed up to how you're doing business, you want to create more time and you want to try to get a better balance in your family, then you have to change up in how you continue to go after it. But you got to still keep going after it.
Yeah, you got to find yourself. Like
you still got to hit that
McDonald's. Like, I want to go inside and eat. I don't want to go through the drive-thru, because there might be somebody that wants a dip cone as well. It's like, but it's crazy. Like you. But again, at the root of it, it's just that you care.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's what people don't understand with networking, is if you can't, you're not faking it. Right. And I'm not faking it. And that was the hardest thing for me with COVID, is that Abby and I would go on walks, and I was like, we have to go at peak walk time so I can talk to someone across the street, because I wasn't getting my fix of being social.
Yes.
Right. And then I think, again, with COVID, it brought it back down to where I actually wanted to say hi to people, because I just wanted to say hi to them, versus like, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? And it's interesting when people like you go and essentially insulate yourself from the masses.
Right.
But maybe that's been the best business thing you could do, because it's given you a different way to go and generate income without the fluff.
Exactly.
And I think when you're chasing people that are spending money on stuff that essentially it's a costume, right? That gets hard too. And especially in Dallas, where we talked about the $30,000 millionaires, these people that are just faking it. It's really, really tiring.
And it changes so fast.
Yeah.
It changes so fast. And then when you got to change in your life as well, it's hard to want to go back to just and see what they're doing out there.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, even the way that you're doing now, what I saw how fast you changed on your marketing was, when everybody's stuck inside, you're bringing on more agents.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the smarter moves you can have out there at the real estate agent, because even that time when we had that first crash, everybody's sitting back all good, high on the money and high on the hog until it stops.
Yeah.
Well, you still got to pay those fees as a broker guy. Yeah. So you've got to keep people out there. Yours is definitely tougher, because you got to keep people motivated in selling. Yours it's a big time product.
Yeah.
It's a way big time product. And I know everybody says, oh, there's so many real estate agents. Yeah, but there's not so many real estate sellers.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
No, which goes back to the conversation we were having before we got in here. There's a saying that, like, realtors that travel to speak, the common thread is they're not mayors in their own hometown, which means they don't sell a damn thing.
See.
And I think that in the business of luxury, however you define it, whether it's a price point, a lifestyle, a look, whatever it is, rarely are there people that are actually masters of their craft that are sharing their wisdom. And I think that's what it's a struggle for me with real estate. I'm sure it is with you with the car business and the sprinter business, is that there's people literally giving false information online. And instead of commenting and be like, hey, moron, this is not true, it's like, just stay the course.
Leave it alone.
The right people are going to find you. And I think that's what peacocking has kind of evolved to, is that Benny can be a big, loud personality and wear bright clothes, but he's right.
Yes.
And I think that people appreciate that online, which hits a different audience. But maybe as far as mastering networking 2.0 with you, what would be your suggestions, your top 5, your top 3 for online networking, which is a less intimate version of shaking a hand, giving someone a hug, and admiring your shoes, whatever it is? How do you do that online?
One of the big things, being active is definitely tough because there's so many platforms, and what I'm still slowly learning is where to use or show different things on platform. Right now, I think everybody has their opinion of where they're the best at. Right now, mine's Instagram still, because Instagram's still a video photo type of place. Moving a little bit more into TikTok. I dabble on LinkedIn, which will change more as I get bigger into the sprinter world.
Biggest mistake I ever made with networking in my entire life was I did not leverage LinkedIn until COVID.
See?
Not kidding.
But now you're king.
I mean, not that, but it's just like, I don't care. And I was so concerned that LinkedIn was like Facebook for suits. And that was the easiest disruption ever, because I was like, all right, I'll be myself on LinkedIn. And everyone's like, that's fantastic. I was like,
yeah,
where's all the love on Instagram?
There it is.
So anyway.
But you hit it on the key. You have to find your platform where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
Yours is great on LinkedIn. I see all your stuff on LinkedIn, and you have a lot of followers on LinkedIn.
It's the same thing I put on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, but the engagement is more
not
genuine.
The same. Exactly. Yeah. They feel more from you on LinkedIn. Now mine's Instagram.
Yeah.
My videos, I show my little moving around, few little cars here, and everybody has to use their platform the way, if their mindset is right, the way it's most effective for them to market. Now, if you're just a selfie person, be a selfie person. Okay. I just don't know what you're doing with that.
Yeah. It's a mask.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Nobody loves me. Here's my selfie.
Here I am pretty that day. But you've got to have a little mix, because you've got to show people a little bit about you. But if you're trying to market, you've got to show them what you're marketing.
Yeah.
That's the key. And then speak a little bit of wisdom. I'm not much into the great proverbs, but if it's something that I'm doing, I'll share it out there with you and say, hey, I'm doing it. What are you doing?
Okay. So again, there's so many different things that you're a master of, but I would call you the networking ninja. And people that are paying attention to this today, whether it's online, in person, the Batman Robin approach, whatever, what would be your top 5 networking tips?
Say your whole name. Don't just say your first name. It's too easy to forget somebody's first name.
I love that he started with that.
Yes.
I love that he started with something that it's just it's a black and white, that's it.
Too easy.
Say your whole name, number 1.
Number 2. Number 2, put a smile behind it. If you don't quite have that smile, work a grin in or something, because it makes people feel more warming if you smile.
By the way, even if it's on the phone.
Yes.
And people will be able to tell by the tone of your voice if you're actually going to go and want to talk to them or not. But a smile change. So number 1, your full name. Number 2, smile.
Number 3, my top number 3, figure out a way you can remember somebody else's name.
So hard.
It's so hard.
Dude.
But people love hearing their name. Perfect. I love hearing myself talk. But if you're talking to somebody and you continue to say their name, you can watch them if they're tense and everybody likes hearing their name.
What's the secret? Do you have a secret with it?
Really on mine, once I hear somebody, try to say it at least 3 more times during that sentence, during that time that you're
with it. So that's a
with
tangible takeaway. Number 1, say your full name. Number 2, smile. Number 3, when you meet somebody new, say their name 3 times.
At least 3 times out loud while you're talking to them. Figure out to put it in there.
Is it like
see, now that's the funny part. That's the weird part, because with mine, I throw my whole name out there. So I'm throwing you off. But if you've got somebody that you're trying to remember and his name is Tim, well, Tim, where did you spend the... Okay, Tim, you said you were where last night? Well, because that may be your way to try to remember Tim.
People are going to meet Benny, and they're going to be like, don't say my name 3 times. Dude, but it's so genuine. That's the thing that I love so much about you, is like, it's because you care.
Yes.
And it's a game, but it's not. But you're not doing it so you can move on to the next person. It's like you really want to learn Tim's name.
Exactly.
Say your full name, smile, say their name 3 times, number 4.
Last thing, I always
we're going to do 5.
Oh, we're doing 5.
We might do 10.
Woo, number 4, I like a good handshake. I'm even if it's a woman, every woman should be able to walk and grab a hand and like, hey, how you doing? I teach my daughters that. I tell my wife, oh, don't give me a flimsy. Don't give me the flatfish. Especially if you're a man. Don't flatfish me, bro. Now, I know right now everybody's on fist bump. I'm good with fist bump, but, you know, a flimsy handshake, that...
What if it's like a flimsy fist bump? What if it's just like...
Well, it depends on if did we click watches or, I mean, what are we doing? But we got to be more aggressive with it because that lets you know you really want to meet somebody.
Yeah.
You know, now, again, COVID's changed that up. Everybody's on fist bump. I still like the handshake still.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, carry your little sanitize and keep it moving.
Number 5.
Number 5. What would be my number 5? Always leave them with wanting more of you.
God.
That's my 5th.
I love it.
Don't hang at the place too long. Walk through, see the room, grab your stuff, and then burn out. Jet out. You don't need to say bye to nobody. Hey, good to see you. No.
That's how I met him. I followed him out. We were at some event, and you could tell it was like peak hour, and he left. I was like, all right. And you were at Jackson. Yes. I was like, I'm following this guy out. And I also met my friend Assad the same night, who has become just a dear friend too. But I remember in the valet line, I was like, why are you leaving? He was like, it was time to go. It was time to go. Seinfeld, you know, he stopped at the peak, and Michael Jordan should have.
Yes, kept it going.
Can we have a bonus? Can we have a number 6?
Oh, leave them wanting more. Boy, I don't know if I got a bonus. What'll be my bonus?
Come on. I'll remind you. Number 1,
give me a refresh.
say your full name.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, smile. Number 3, say their name 3 times to remember it. Number 4, what was number 4? Oh my gosh.
Grab their hand.
Number 4 was a real handshake. Number 5 was, you know, make them fall in love with you and then exit. Houdini. Number 6.
Leave them wanting more. It's my last one. Number 6 bonus. Number 6 bonus.
Maybe talk about the you said dress to like you're a magnet with your outfit. I mean, obviously the whole peacock thing.
Yes. See, and that's a tough one because that depends on that person's personality. You know, you and I can pull off loud colors. Not everybody can. I've got a lot of friends now, so I've, you know, over the age, I've adorned the hat now. Not everybody can pull off the big brim hat. I've seen some cats like, bro, your head's way too small for that hat. Way too small. But I guess my bonus would be if you're a dresser, own the room when you come in there.
Yeah.
Come in there confident, because that's one thing I like to do with the hat now. It's what I've noticed. A lot of the older guys are pulling off the hats. And you can always see it because when you walk in the room, when you walk in the room, because you'll see a man with a hat and then he'll see a hat. Well, if he's proud of his, he'll sit upright.
Yeah.
But if he's not, he's like, ooh, his hat's better than mine. And, you know, then I'm really going, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to let you see mine up close. So if you've got, that'd be mine. If you have something over somebody when you walk in the room, give them a little acknowledgement, you know. Let them know.
Side note to that, once you decide to wear something loud once, you have to stay with wearing the loud clothes.
You cannot go back.
You can't. I'll never forget the first time I wore a bright blue blazer. Everyone's like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That was easy. I want orange and yellow." And then they kind of
you got your plum, you got lavender.
Yeah.
I've seen your pinks.
But it makes me. But it forces me to be me.
Yes.
And I feel like it's really easy. Like one of my favorite celebrities is Adam Sandler because he wears whatever the hell he wants. And a part of me is like, that's really smart. But I think that messes with your head, where you become kind of mentally and socially lazy. But if I'm dressed in a suit and if I have a bright color on, I have to earn the fact that I can wear that suit.
I love that. It brings out your personality.
Are you going to give us a number 7 now?
I don't know if I can do a 7. I think you just gave us 7. Your dressing brings out your personality. You've hit it right. I know it's on Sundays, game day for me. I'm in cut off sweats, flip-flops, and a T-shirt. And I just feel but I'm just moving through like that. But come Monday, I love kicking in the door, dressing, you know, whichever the situation is, and saying, hey, let's wake up, people.
Do you have any neutral clothing?
My Sundays.
Okay.
But you'll see me at the Tom Thumb, and then I'm boogieing right on out. So it's not going to be
You're recharging your battery.
It won't be in the streets that you'll see my neutral color.
Have you ever been overseas?
Well, what do you consider overseas? The big pond?
No, yeah, like Europe.
No, not yet.
So I went to Sweden one time a long time ago, and I remember I was wearing bright orange, and it wasn't because I just was comfortable.
Yes.
And I got there, and everyone was blonde, and they were all in grays and blacks, and they thought I was a freak, and a few people got photos with me. I was like, really? I was like, Godzilla. Like, no, where did you get your clothes? And I was like, Amazon, but it was just the fact that I was dressing like that.
And 6'4", bro. Helps.
Yeah, 6'5".
Oh, my bad. I cut him short. That's my bad.
No, but yeah. Okay, so as far as how we can support you, like obviously black and white. If people want to buy a Sprinter van, this is the guy. Where do we go to buy a Sprinter van?
Instagram, Iconic Sprinters, LinkedIn, Iconic Sprinters, and Facebook, Iconic Sprinters. Website, www.iconicsprinters.com. But the easiest way, Benny Black, Platinum Dallas is on Instagram, on Facebook. I love people that's interacting, especially on photos on Instagram. So just come holler at your boy.
I like it. And what's your life advice? The one thing that you want people to take away from you, the man, the father, the husband, the believer, the genuinely authentic peacock, what's the advice?
If you have your significant other, communication is the biggest key. I've been with my wife now 23. We just passed deuce, as I called it. We'll be 23 this year. She's been my biggest supporter, but as any man knows, when you come home from a hard day and somebody can just be there to listen to you and not just in your ear, but just support you, there's nothing like getting out there and getting it the next day because, you know, she's got you to come back home to.
I'll tell you what, man, that's why I love you. You could have given us advice about business, about networking, about anything, but you chose to go and give it about your most important person, and that's your spouse. Last question. When people talk about Benny Black in 100 years, what do you remembered as?
Proud glad hander.
One more time?
A proud glad hander.
What the hell does that mean?
I learned that from our mutual friend, Jason Friedman. He calls me a proud glad hander, which means I walk around shaking hands with everybody like a mayor.
I love that. That's a good person right there, y'all. And that's why I wanted you to be a part of this. This was special. And I'm so glad that we can actually share. We had you come speak to our office a decade ago.
Yes.
And it was one of the most special days I've had as a business owner. And now we can go and give this to the masses. So thank you, the Networking Ninja, for sharing all your successes. And when y'all want to buy a Sprinter van, you have one option now.
Pretty much.
And it's this guy.
My man.
Benny Black. Be sure to smile. Be sure to say their name 3 times. Be sure to leave them wanting more. Be sure to give them a handshake. And be sure to own your brand. And that's what I've learned from you since day one. So thank you very much.
My man. Enjoyed this, my friend. I'm Benny Black, and this is how you sell without selling out. Roger's that.